to the Front Office Podcast. I'm your host, Marcus Cameron, and as always, the show is sponsored by Tees and Trees Clothing. Tees and Trees is where we stand on business. I got a polo shirt on. My kids had a function today. Don't trip. I'm still with the independent. But you got to have variety. So I appreciate it. Everybody checking in, man. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Whatever time you're viewing the show, man, we appreciate the check-in. Make sure you click like and subscribe to the page. Eastern Conference and Western Conference Finals. I know I told you I was going to wait till after game one of each series, but you know what? We ain't got much basketball left, man. Let's get as many episodes in as we possibly can. We had the Pacers and the Celtics tonight. Game one on the road. I picked the Celtics to win the series. They end up pulling out the win, 133-128. Went into overtime. It was a good game. It was a really good game. I thought Indiana would play well coming off of that game 7, just because they're kind of in the rhythm of battling, whereas Boston kind of laying in the weeds, just fucking around and shit, not really taking it serious. I think they do what Boston does, which is maybe not play to their full potential or full steam ahead, and I think that's a little bit of a strategy from the coaching standpoint and the organization standpoint. Like that team has been together for a long time, and they have been in this position a lot. So I think maybe it's trying not to peak at the wrong time. I thought Indiana gave this game away, and when I literally gave it away in the form of turnovers. They beat Boston in every statistical category except for turnovers. They had costly turnovers towards the end, a big turnover on the inbounds play. They were up 3, and that caused them to turn the ball over to the Celtics. Celtics in return run a great play for Jaylen Brown in the corner. He makes one hell of a shot. People going to say it's luck, whatever. This is what you pay a guy $300 million to do. So it's a great shot for him, great shot for the Celtics. Put him into overtime, and Jason Tatum closed them out. I thought the Celtics didn't shoot the ball well from the three-point line tonight, and I don't know if that's Indiana defense and pace or they just didn't shoot the ball well. But I could tell that Indiana was locked in. I think this is good for Indiana. I think it's really good for their confidence. If you take a look at the press conferences, they're not complaining. They're not, distraught or anything like that. But I do think they let one slip tonight. I thought they might get a game in Boston. I thought the best shot was a game 1, but they did. They let it slip away, and the Celtics took advantage of that. You got to credit the Celtics for that, even though they didn't play well. Their stars came to play. I think JB ended up with 26, and Jason Tatum finished up with 35, 36, 12 rebounds, some assists. He's been playing well, man. It's just overlooked because he's on supposedly the best team in the NBA. But he's been playing well, and I thought he stepped up when he needed to. Definitely almost let it slip out. Pause. Definitely almost let it slip away. He definitely almost let that game slip away. I thought it was a bad shot selection. I think when they were up 117 to 114, it's a turnaround jump shot in the middle of the lane. I didn't like it. But I do think that he has the size advantage over the guards that are trying to guard him. You notice when they tried to put Nembhard on him, start going down low. I think he was 2 for 8 from the three-point line. I think he's going to have to be more efficient inside the three-point line. He's going to have to impose his will in order for them to dominate. If he does that, there's literally nothing Indiana could do but double team, and guys got to make shots. On the other side of the ball, I think Indiana just has to be more conscious of turnovers. Like tonight was their game. You got 5 starters in double figures on the Celtics end as well. But the Pacers play 10 deep. They play 10 guys. And they got production from just about everybody. I think one guy had like 1 minute. I think it's the Isaiah dude, the tall guy. Probably not the series for him. You can kind of tell who's going to get minutes in the series unless a coach just really makes a change. But, yeah, I do think it's going to be a good series. I think we got a shot at it going maybe 7. I think Indiana can win 2 in Indiana. I don't think they'll win the next game. Just to be honest with you, I think this one coming off game 7, now you got a day to rest. You got to think about it. And I think Boston is just going to play better. I expect Boston to go up 2-0 going to Indiana. Now, I do expect Indiana, or I ain't going to say I expect. I wouldn't be surprised if they hold serve and tie the series up 2-2, honestly, because they the way they play, that's a tough environment to win in. It really is. But the key to the series for me, it's going to be a lot of people talking about, what's the key to the series? What's this? Who's that? For Indiana, I think it has to be Miles Turner. You have to have this version of Miles Turner every night in order for you to win the series. He can't have those games where he just doesn't show up and he just has like 14 points. He has to be a scorer. He has to be a force on the boards. He has to put his fingerprints all over the game. Halliburton's going to do his job. I think you got great play out of Naismith tonight. TJ McConnell has been doing this since like game 4 of the Knicks series. So it's almost expected at this point. Nembhard hit great jump shots in the fourth quarter, really to close them out. It really was an opportunity missed by the Pacers. But if you're a Pacer fan, you got to feel good about the way y'all played. The problem is, can you duplicate it? You know what I mean? Can you duplicate it and have it be a situation where Boston is given the same kind of energy? This is we're going to see if it's the Pacers defense or Boston just didn't play well. Because clearly 133, 128 in a playoff series, Eastern Conference Finals. I get it. It went to overtime, but that's a lot of points. And it's not to say that they're not playing defense. It's just, I've said this before, the players are better, man. It's harder to guard them. It really is harder to guard them. I mean, we watched Minnesota do it, and, we're going to get a good dose of that tomorrow night because we're going to see how great that Minnesota defense is against an offensively powered machine like Dallas. If they can shut them down, I'm sold. I picked Minnesota to win the series, but I absolutely expect Dallas to keep it very close, even win the game. If I was a betting man on the game, which I just kind of bet on props because we live in the state of South Carolina. They don't allow us to do that. Bullshit. But I would take I would take the Dallas Mavericks to win game 1. I think they are in a good rhythm. I think they're starting to peak, and I think Minnesota is going back home. Sometimes it could be a distraction. I think if you're going back home, going on the road, I probably would have took Minnesota, and Minnesota might beat the shit out of them more, just to be honest. You never know how it's going to go, but I wouldn't be surprised if Dallas walks out and up game 1, just because of the firepower they have, veteran leadership. Those young guys are going to be ready to go. Ant's going to be Ant, man. Ant is going to have a series. Karl Anthony Towns, to me, is the most important person in that series if you're Minnesota. If you're Minnesota, you need Karl Anthony Towns to have a better series than he had last time, and that's going to be hard. Or you need him to match that energy. You need Gobert to be good, but you don't have to have him to be great because he's not going up against a great center. He's going up against Gafford and Lively, which are good players, definitely not Jokic. So I think it's Karl Anthony Towns for the Timberwolves. For the Dallas Mavericks, I think it's P.J. Washington. If you get the version of P.J. Washington that you got in game 3 through 5, if you're the Mavericks, you're in a good situation. He is a mismatch problem because he can shoot the 3. He can keep your big guys on the perimeter. Minnesota's a big team. If they try to put Karl Anthony Towns on them, now you only got Gobert to go down there and rebound, and it kind of evens the floor. It'll be interesting to see how Jason Kidd approaches it. But I like Finch over on the Minnesota side, the head coach for them. I do. I think he's a really good head coach. I thought he made a statement early in the year when Minnesota was out there trying to break a record. I think Karl Anthony Towns, and he was like, that's why we lost, because we wasn't playing basketball the right way. He called them out, you know what I mean? And it's a lot of guys that don't respond to that. I think that's when you get to this step, this level of the playoffs, it's how you respond. Boston is Boston and Indiana is Indiana. Minnesota is who they are and Dallas is who they are. You're going to make small adjustments. It's not going to be life-changing or anything like that. You're going to make small adjustments, but it's who responds well, who responds to that pressure. I thought that was a big shot by Jaylen Brown tonight. He's been getting a lot of flack for his playoff play. Jason Tatum as well, but not as much as Jaylen Brown, and that was a huge shot. He made the play before that, which I thought was the even bigger play when he knocked it off Siakam's hand to get the ball back to be able to shoot that. That's a huge play from a guy that you're paying $300 million to. That's the kind of effort you want to see if you're the Boston Celtics. Same thing on the Indiana side. When you got a guy like TJ McConnell coming off the bench and giving you what he gives you, that just goes into your favor. That makes you more formidable. That makes you more of a threat to be able to shock the world. Nobody picked them to beat the Knicks. I picked the Celtics to beat them, but that team is capable of beating the Celtics, especially if the Celtics have a mental breakdown and forget what they are. In the clutch, historically on this show, if you go back to any other videos, I have been hard on the Celtics and how they actually handle pressure situations, or when the game gets close, they look stagnant. They don't know what to do. I thought Porzingis not being in the game might have been one of the best things ever, because you get a big performance from Jrue Holiday, and he gets to feel like he's able to implement and do what he wants, and he has a mismatch on any guard except for probably Halliburton. So the styles are going to clash. Indy wants to get up and down. Boston wants to play half court. It's going to be about who actually can impose their will. Which team can impose their will and play the way they want to play through the majority of the game. I thought Indiana did that tonight, and they really let a great opportunity slip out of their hands. But we'll see what they do game 2 on Thursday night. Like I said, Minnesota and Dallas will be playing tonight. I'm going to take the Mavs for the first game. I am taking Minnesota for the series 4-2, but I do like to get the Mavs to win this game. I like them to shock them. I think Kyrie has a big night, and I think Luka is going to be very efficient and control the basketball game. And that's what they're going to need, that if they're going to win that series. They're going to need him to be efficient. Guys are going to have to make shots. Derrick Jones had a great game last 2 games against OKC. They're going to need that tomorrow night, and I think they'll get that. They're dealing with a young team. They're more of a veteran team. I think they'll come in not too hype, not too crazy, but I think they'll come in and put their stamp on the game, and I think they walk away with a game 1. I'll drop another episode after the game tonight, and I'll try to keep up this pace throughout the Eastern Conference Finals, man, and the Western Conference Finals until we get to the finals. Once we get to the finals, I can get a little bit of a break because it'll be just one series going on, man, but I appreciate it. Anybody who has any suggestions or things you want me to talk about, for sure, leave it in the comment box. Like, subscribe, share. Tees and Trees is the clothing line. It'll be coming soon, summer 2024. I am your host, Marcus Cameron, and this is the Front Office Podcast. Peace.